Hey, it's me, Vicky Mary. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this crazy mad world we live in. So, for those of you who don't know, most of you probably know, but I am in Spain, in Europe. That's where I'm based, although I'm originally from the UK. We are experiencing at the moment in Spain, well, it is, height of the summer, July, very, very hot. Very, very hot. It's just almost unbearably hot, to be honest. But of course, that's what people who come to Spain on holiday, that's what they want, isn't it? Isn't it? They want the heat, they want the sun, the beaches, etc. But what I'm going to talk to you about today in this video, this is a case that most likely you haven't heard of, unless you are from Spain, have lived in Spain. Maybe a lot more, maybe Irish people know about it because Avril was Irish, the victim in this horrible case. And of course, because I'm based in Spain, this came up in the news that this killer has been released from prison. Avril's killer has been released. And when I tell you about this story, you will be as outraged as I am. I feel for Avril's family. I was thinking, if your family member gets murdered, I mean, that's just terrible in itself, isn't it? How do you ever get over that? But then you must get a little bit of comfort, I suppose, when the murderer is convicted and imprisoned. It's a little bit of cold comfort, isn't it, that justice has been served for your loved one, even though it doesn't bring them back. But then what happens when they're released? Very short time later, your loved one's never coming back. Avril Flanagan, she was only 20 when she was brutally murdered by her ex-boyfriend. She never had any more time after that. She never had a second chance. But sadly, her murderer, he has got a second chance. And he could be living near you. If you live in the UK, in the Guildford area, because although this murder happened in Spain, he's been released from prison in the UK. He's not allowed to come back to Spain, thank God. And he is from Merseyside. He himself is from Merseyside area. Whether he'll go back there or not, we just don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is imagine, it must be like a little bit of a sigh of relief at least when your loved one's murderer goes to prison, gets convicted, goes to prison. You think, oh, well, there you go. Justice at least has been served, even though, my loved one isn't coming back. And then they're released. And he's still young. He's still young. He's only in his 40s. So he's got plenty of time to make a new life. Anyway, also we're going to be talking about what happened in this case. I remember it well because it happened on the Orihuela Costa, which is, I don't live on the Orihuela Costa, but I'm not that far away. I've been there many, many, many times. And it's, some of you will know about the Orihuela Costa because of the John George case. That's where that was centered around John George. It's a very popular holiday place. We're going to have I'm going to tell you about it a little bit. But it's got an underbelly of crime, murders, muggings, drugs, all that. Often I think of all these people that go there on holiday. It's such a popular holiday destination. And people take their families there. Orihuela Costa is known by a lot of people as a lovely place to go on holiday. But they don't know what's going on underneath, underneath the sort of veneer of this lovely holiday place with the lovely beaches, great big shopping centre, just all lovely things, pools, gated communities, It's got everything you would need, really. Lovely restaurants, bars, place you can go and dance all night if you want to. But in the meantime, there's all sorts going on there. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to show you some video of this man. He seems to have had great fun in prison, apart from anything else. He's not sorry in the slightest. He's not expressed any remorse. And he is now, as we speak, walking around Guildford area, probably. But it could be anywhere. You could be standing next to him in the supermarket later. You could end up dating him. Would you even know who he was? Will he change his name? And even if he didn't change his name, how many people would know his name? That's why I'm doing this video, because I want to put his face out there. I want people to know, that he is out and about, and, somebody could end up dating him and end up just like poor Avril, because has he really changed? No, I would say. Anyway, that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So first of all, just a little bit of a waffle. As you know, I like to waffle sometimes. So for those of you who don't like the waffle, as always, I will cut the waffle out later and upload this video without it. So that for those of you who don't like that. But yeah, so my regular viewers, you'll know last night I went out for a meal. I nearly didn't go. I tell you what, there's something like, it's like the universe said, oh, Vicky Marie's going out for a meal. Let's send all this weird weather. Oh my God, the weather. Last night, it was really eerie. So from 5 o'clock, there was a weather warning, 5 o'clock in the evening. And all the swimming pools were closed. The beaches were closed. I mean, I've lived in Spain for 30 years, more or less. And I don't ever remember the beaches being closed. But of course now, probably before, these weather things would just happen and nobody would know they were coming. But of course now, because we've got advances in technology, we know what the weather's going to be like. So, yeah. And sure enough, 5 o'clock came and the clouds started to gather. There was thunder and lightning. There was rain, but it wasn't a lot of rain. It would have been better, to be honest, if there would have been more, because it would have cleared the air more. But the weirdest thing was the wind. It was like someone was blowing hairdryers, hot hairdryers. When I walked up to the restaurant, it was like a hairdryer in my face. So I'm trying to walk and it's blowing me back. Really weird. Just really hot desert wind. And we had a tornado, mini tornado, I might add. Everything was going on. The weirdest weather, honestly. But it only lasted a few hours. And it's a touch cooler today, I would say. Yesterday it was 40 something degrees. Today I think it's going to reach perhaps 32 degrees, but yeah, yesterday was about 45 degrees. So it's pretty hot, isn't it? So I feel sorry for people who were on holiday, because at the end of the day they want to go to the beach, don't they? Go in the pool, do those things. And yesterday it was all closed. So anyway, I did go for a meal. I nearly didn't go because when it was thunder and lightning, my dogs get really anxious, and I had to barricade all the doors so they couldn't get out of the room because they'd get anxious. But anyway, the thunder and lightning was really, really brief. It was, so that wasn't a problem. By the time I went out, there was no more thunder and lightning. It was just this wind, the weirdest wind that you've ever, that I've ever seen. I say I've lived in Spain a long time. These are new experiences. There's definitely something has changed in the weather. Anyway, oh gosh, dropping the phone. Just sorting my phone out so I can see the chat. Hope you're all well. Thank you everybody for liking, for subscribing. Oh, I didn't put my banner up, did I? For all the ways you support my channel. Of course, the free ways is just to like the video, to subscribe, of course, share the video. You can hype the videos, I think, sometimes. These are the free ways you can help my channel. And then very special thank you to those of you who go a bit further, my members, those of you who send Ko-fis or coffees, buy super stickers, and now there's these new things you can do, sending gems and sparkles and things that we haven't quite worked out how that works properly. But it's always nice to see somebody sent some gems. It's just lovely, isn't it? Anyway, thank you. So thank you to everyone. Helps my channel in any positive way. Even another free way, of course, to help the channel is just to comment. Put comments either in the live chat or afterwards. These are all things that help the algorithm. So yeah, there are lots of ways, and lots of you do support my channel in so many ways. And you leave such nice comments as well, and you're so supportive. Thank you so much. I'm very lucky with my followers. Okay. So, hello, you lovely lurkers. Thank you for watching. Can't see me. I'm on the avatar because I had about 2 hours sleep last night. So, I'm like a zombie today. It's so difficult to sleep when it's so hot. So, I will be heading back to bed later and try and get a daytime nap in to try and recover from the sleep that I didn't get last night. So yeah, that's why I'm on the avatar. I may put my face on later and do another live later on today. We'll see how the day goes. You never know how the day's going to go, do you? Anyway, so yeah, thank you, lovely lurkers. Thank you to replay crew, of course. People who don't manage to watch the live but watch it later. I'm going to say hello to anyone who's in the chat. There's a couple of you in the chat. I'm quite early this morning, aren't I? Hi, Kelly and Sean. Oh, Sean, you've been looking at villas today. Yeah, now gated communities. We have a lot of them here. So we have these complexes. That they call gated communities, and there's normally at least one, if not more, swimming pools in the centre of them. So the houses are all, or apartment can be, it's normally apartments to be fair, all sort of around a pool or maybe several pools if they're big communities. And then there's, you can only get into the community through a lock. You have a key, so you can only get in through a lock gate. Sometimes they have parking within the lock gates as well. And they're popular here, because people feel safer in a gated community. Doesn't always help as far as robberies and things are concerned, of course. But, and it can be annoying, like with deliveries and things, if you've got Amazon coming and they've got to be let in through the gate to bring your packet, or you've got to go out to the gate. But anyway, there's a lot of gated communities here. It's very, very popular. And yeah, a lot of people that are here that buy places here for holiday homes. Gated communities are ideal because there's communal, the communal areas are kept up by the community. You pay a community charge every year. So you haven't got a garden to mess about with. The pool's maintained by the community. So when you come out on holiday, literally, you don't have to do anything. The pool's there, everything's there. And your apartment, often people have what are called key holders, to just go in every now and again, check everything's okay while they're not here. Of course, a lot of people live here as well. It's not only holiday homes. Sometimes those communal properties, they're not suitable for living all the year round. You know, they're perfect for holidays, but not necessarily perfect for someone who lives here all the year round, because um, it can be quite irritating then in the summer when all the tourists come out and they're in the pool and making noise, because of course they're on holiday. But if you live here and you live in one of those communal apartments, you're getting up for work every day. You know, so I always think there's two kinds of properties. There's properties that you would have as a holiday home, and what you're looking for a holiday home is different from what you would look for if you're actually coming here to live full time. That's what I think, anyway. So this place that we're talking about, I'm going to show you, Orihuela Costa, is there's lots of these gated communities in Orihuela Costa. It is predominantly, I'd say, holiday places. And the thing that's important to remember about this area is before the year 2000, it just didn't exist. You know, when I first came to Spain, Orihuela Costa, it didn't, well, I say it didn't exist. There was a place called Orihuela Costa, but there was nothing there, or very little there. It's a very new area that sort of sprung up in the boom, in the housing boom. So we can see on this map where it is. Let's have a look on the Google map. So you've got how can it? So it's Alicante province, Alicante province, but it's nowhere near Alicante. It's an hour away from Alicante airport. It takes about an hour in a car from the airport. It's right going sort of upwards. You would go from here. But Orihuela Costa, you can see that what Costa means coast. So it's actually part of a place called Orihuela, which is right here. This is Orihuela, and this is Orihuela Costa, and they are actually the same municipality. So for years, Orihuela Costa was governed by Orihuela, which is quite a distance away, really. And but now it does have its own town hall, and it does have its own facilities. But as I say, when I first came to Spain, there were no houses there, or very few, just ones that had been there for maybe quite a long time. And then we had this huge housing boom, and it went from just lemon groves, there's only lemon groves and stuff like that, then suddenly sprang up out of nowhere houses, schools, and now is probably busier than actual Orihuela itself. I mean, it's just a massively populated area. There's now a big shopping centre there. There was just nothing there. It's hard to explain to people the difference between what it's like now and how it was not that long ago. So you're talking about really more or less since the year 2000. That things started springing up. Oh, what did I do with that then? Wanted to get back to the description there. So now see this picture here. You know, if you've been following with me, the John George case, and you know that one of the suspects from the John George case did himself. You know, so that I didn't even know if you were on holiday what all the undercurrents are. Now, I know this very well, actually. In fact, I haven't been walking my there, dogs there, really since Michael Malley got shot there, and also uh, I had that old lady that sort of, you know, gave me a xenophobic mouthful. So yeah, this is Orwell Costa. And as I say, it's called that because there's loads of beaches. There must be 10 beaches along. You can see it's right on the edge. You've got the Punta Prima beach, Torrevieja beaches. There's a few beaches there. Beach. You've got Lasagna Beach, Cabaroy, Campermore. They're all lovely beaches. And then there's lots of little beaches in between, like coves and things like that. So, you know, it is a lovely area. And of course, it's the Mediterranean Sea, so it's normally quite warm. Yeah, I mean, it is a lovely area. And if you went there on holiday, you'd think, oh, this is lovely. But of course, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, do you, wherever you go? Hi, Julie. Well, Sean, that sounds like somewhere I'd like to live. Over 55 retirement villa. Palatial clubhouse with heated pool, gym, snooker. I mean, I'm not bothered about snooker or lawn bowls. Table tennis is good though, but yeah, the retirement homes these days, they're brilliant, aren't they? You know, the thing is, people. I mean, 55 seems quite young, doesn't it? But people, older people these days are not, you know, like even pensioners and things. They're not like the pensioners of yesteryear, are they? You know, they're like people stay fit and active up to, you know, quite advanced stages these days, most of the time. I mean, not everybody, obviously. But anyway, so this is Orwell Costa. And as I say, literally, even this motorway here, none of it really, it's all sort of appeared over the last 20, 25 years. And this terrible murder that we're going to talk about here, the murder of Avril Flanagan, it took place sort of in the boom, if you like, when I'll just put this photo up so we can look at when in the boom of the sort of after the 2000s, you know, in the first, I think that's when this murder happened. And Avril, she was only 20 years old, and she was working as a barmaid in one of the bars there on the Orwell Costa. And sadly for her, she got involved with this horrible man who himself was only young at the time. And honestly, he was batting so far above his weight, punching so far above his weight. I don't know what Avril ever saw in him, but there you go. He probably had a charm inside. Avril was a barmaid, as I say, so she was probably just having a great time. The photos that I've seen of Avril, just a typical 20-year-old girl out with her friends, enjoying herself, you know, living the dream, I suppose, you know, and having a great time. And then very sadly ended up meeting this horrible twonk. And, you know, I was talking to someone the other day and they were telling me they'd just met their daughter's boyfriend and they weren't that keen. And I thought, God, it's awful, isn't it, really? Because you have, when you're either your daughter or your son, when your adult child meets a partner, you have no control, do you? You know, like if you don't like them, well, the worst thing you can do is say you don't like them, because that normally drives your son or daughter more towards them, doesn't it? But, you know, what do you do when you meet your child, your adult child's partner, and you don't like them? Just get a bad feeling about them. Anyway, I don't know if this happened with Avril's partner, but I don't know if they ever even met. I think they must have met Avril's parents. Anyway, they had a brief relationship. Avril decided she wanted to terminate the relationship. And guess what? He didn't want to terminate the relationship. So he stalked her. He kept phoning her. He wouldn't leave her alone. And then finally, somehow, not sure how, because this happened in his apartment, he got her into his apartment. You know, hi Lily. He got her into his apartment and he tortured her. And he stabbed her, I think, over 50 times. And, you know, sorry to say this, but this is what happened, so I'm not going to pretend it didn't. He actually slit her throat. He then tried to put her body in a suitcase to take her out. He tried to clean up, mop the floor, tried to put her body in a suitcase to dispose of it, I suppose. Anyway, he was unsuccessful in that. So he sort of gave up and went on the run. And sadly, it was Avril's own mother who found her daughter's mutilated body stuffed in a sofa in this monster's apartment. So there you go. There's the background of what happened here. This is what he did. That's so yeah. So it was a horrible, 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 horrible. What does somebody have to do to someone to get a proper life sentence? You know, what is life should mean life. That is something I think that is really good in America. That, you know, life without. When somebody does what this man did to Avril, you know, a young girl, 20 years old, how many years did he take off her? You know, if she was 20, you could presume she was going to live to about 75. So he's taken 55 years away from this girl. 55 years that they can't watch her get married, have children, all those kind of things. So what, you know, anyway, the thing is, the crime happened in Spain. Spanish sentences for murder, they're not good. You know, they're not. You think they're bad in the UK, they're even worse in Spain. I think, you know, in Spain, the sentence, I'm going to share this with you to show you this picture of him more close up. Hang on. You know, very light. Spanish sentencing is crap. Personally, I think. But yeah, you know, what can be done about it? You know, I don't know. I don't understand how life doesn't mean life. Just seems like a no-brainer to me. So you take a life. I don't believe in the death penalty, but you take a life, you give up your life. No, that's it. No question to me. I mean, sometimes there might be extenuating circumstances. I don't know, but not in this case. There's not only he tortured her, you know, killed her. And not only that, then he tried to cover it up. He went on the run. He left her mother to find her body stuffed behind the sofa. He's never shown any remorse at all. You know, he's not remorseful. And he tried to make up a cock and bull story that he was high on drugs and alcohol and he thought it was an intruder. So did the Oscar Pistorius line of defense. Oh, I thought I was being, you know, it was a burglar. That's why I stabbed her 50 times. I mean, for God's sake, stabbed her 50 times and slit her throat because he thought she was a burglar. Please. Please. So these are the headlines. Family's horror as a barbaric Orwell Acosta killer walks free. So this was him back in the day when he was arrested. I mean, look at the state of him. Look at the state of him. Do you know what? He must have had a charm inside, I suppose, to, get round Avril. What did Avril see in him? I don't know, but he must have had he had been on the run here when he was caught, but you just think, bloody hell, maybe she probably, thing is, young girls, they make friends with people, and then, she probably went out with him a couple of times. I mean, I don't know how serious their relationship was. And he just couldn't accept it when she wanted to finish with him. Just could not accept it. Stalked her. So, 17 years he's been in prison. And he's out now. As I say, you live in the Guildford area, that's where he's been released to. He could be anywhere now. He's not allowed to come back to Spain. He's been banned from coming back to Spain. I presume maybe her family still live in Spain. I don't know. But that's good. We don't want him here. But you bear in mind, if you do live around the Guildford area, you literally could be stood behind him in the supermarket queue. Or, he could be on Plenty of Fish and you could end up going out with him on a date. So the family of a popular young Irish woman murdered in Cabaroid more than 17 years ago have spoken of their anguish and alarm as the man who stabbed her more than 50 times is released from prison. Alan Daulby from Liverpool was sentenced to 19 years for the savage murder of his former girlfriend, 20-year-old Avril Flanagan, at his Orwell Acosta apartment on May the 29th, 2009. So it was a long time ago, but I'm sure it doesn't feel like that to her family. It probably feels like it was just yesterday. They've had to learn to live without her. And not only that, knowing what happened to her, and her mum finding her stuffed in the sofa. They've had to live with that. They've got a life and they'll continue living with that. Their life sentence will never end. Now, the other thing that's going to outrage you, he was actually released before. He was released early, after 11 years. This twunk was released after 11 years. And he broke his terms of parole and he was put back in prison, serve another, where are we now? So he didn't serve another 8 years or whatever. But yeah, he was released early before. How was he ever released early? How do you release a savage murderer early? You release people early if they're shoplifters, or I don't know, even credit card fraud, or crimes that are not sort of violent, non-violent crimes. Yeah, you can see why you would release someone early for good behaviour, and because the prisons in the UK are sort of full to bursting, aren't they? Do you think that is a problem, that the reason for the sentences being so pathetic in the UK? Though I do think they've got better. They, normally for murder now people get at least 20 years, don't they? But do you think it's because in the UK, being such a tiny country and there's not that many prisons, and probably the prisons aren't that big, I don't know. Whereas, of course, America's a huge country and they've got lots of great big prison facilities and they've got the room to keep these horrible people. But there's a lot of controversy about it at the moment in the UK about the early release scheme. Thing is, they're releasing people early. Violent offenders should never be released early. That's what I don't understand. I do believe there are times when someone could be released early, but not with violent crimes. Do they really think this man has changed? Well, I'm going to show you a video of him in prison in a moment. There's a video came out on TikTok. How did that happen? Somebody put a video on TikTok of this man in prison. Looks like he's having a great time. Anyway, he's recently turned 40. So he's only 40. So he's got a lot of life in front of him. He'll come out, he'll meet someone, he could get married, he could have children. He's still got his life intact, hasn't he? So it said he was expected to leave a UK prison on Sunday. That was last Sunday. He's out now, let's put it that way. He's out. He was probably already out when this article came out. So for Avril's devastated family, it's a moment they have feared for years. While he can now contemplate the rest of his life outside prison, Avril was denied the opportunity even to celebrate her 21st birthday. Her Dublin-based brother David said the family remained convinced that Daulby still posed a danger to the public and he should never have been allowed to walk free. Daulby should have been caged for life, he said. Avril was taken from us when she was only 20, and this monster has not long ago turned 40, so he's got the rest of his life ahead of him. Well, you know what they say, life begins at 40, don't they? So when he was in prison as well, he was deemed high risk and he was held as a Category A prisoner. So Avril's brother said, I firmly believe he's still a danger to society. And that's a view I think the prison authorities share. And David said that Avril's relatives felt powerless to prevent the release because Daulby had served the custodial period required under his sentence. And his sentence was handed down by Spanish courts. And it included time spent on remand before his conviction. Once he's free, he's expected to be placed under police supervision and made subject to a stalking protection order. The family understands that a police officer will be assigned to him and he will initially be accommodated in Guildford in Surrey. So if you live in Guildford or anywhere round about, you literally could bump into this man. He has also reportedly been prevented from travelling to Spain, although the restriction will not stop him from entering Ireland. Of particular concern to Avril's relatives are claims that he may be able to leave the accommodation provided for his first 12 weeks and disengage from elements of the supervision arrangements. Look, the minute he's out there, he's just going to go off and do whatever he wants. We've been told he can drop out of the supervision plan at any time if he wants, and he can leave the housing he's been offered for the first 12 weeks. But he's coming out to free housing for 12 weeks as well, and that makes us very concerned. So Avril, originally from Swords in County Dublin, moved to Spain in 2006 and worked as a barmaid at the Orwella Costa pub opened by her parents. She had ended her year-long relationship with Daulby approximately 2 weeks before he murdered her. Now, I remember this case so well because it was obviously a big thing in the area, in the Orwella Costa area. It was everybody knew about it. I don't know how, because I think it was sort of pre-Facebook days, really, and that. But just shows you, even before social media was so prevalent, people still got to hear about what was going on. So his trial heard that he stalked Avril following the breakup and repeatedly telephoned her. And desperate to escape his unwanted attention, she eventually broke her phone's SIM card to stop the calls. And on May the 29th, 2009, Daulby attacked Avril with a kitchen knife inside his apartment, stabbing her more than 50 times. 50 times, and then he tried to say he thought she was an intruder. I don't know how he got her into his apartment, but you know what? They're very clever, these stalkers. what I would say at anybody who's having any sort of problem, don't ever get in the car with them, go into their apartment, don't go anywhere except a public place, even public places. You're not safe, really. I've heard, there's so many people, girls, women, and men, murdered in public places, murdered at work, because these stalkers, when they get obsessed and they're determined to hurt you, they will hurt you no matter what, I think. So you just have to, get as far away from them as possible. And you know what? Restraining orders and things like that, I don't think they make any difference, because I don't think they take any notice of them. The only thing about a restraining order is it means that at least if the police do get to them, they can arrest them. Anyway, judges in Elche described the killing as brutal and barbaric and concluded that Daulby had taken pleasure in causing his defenceless victim additional suffering, and his actions after the murder revealed a chilling attempt to conceal what he had done. He used a mop and bleach to clean Avril's blood from the apartment before showering and changing his clothes. He then wrapped her body in blankets and plastic sheeting and concealed it beneath a sofa. And Avril's mother, Barbara, was later confronted with the unimaginable horror of discovering her daughter's body. I mean, how did he only get such a short sentence? I just don't understand it. Anyway, he fled the property in his car, which was eventually spotted by the Guardia Civil north of Benidorm, triggering a pursuit covering almost 200 kilometres. He was eventually intercepted and arrested by armed police several hours after the murder. And for more than 3 years, he refused to admit responsibility for her death. He finally confessed during his June 2012 trial, but he claimed that after binging on alcohol and drugs, he had mistaken her for an intruder. Because, of course, that's what you do with intruders. You stab them 50 times, don't you? That's what anyone would do. So the court rejected his version of events and sentenced him to 19 years in prison, which is 1 year short of the maximum available sentence. Crap, isn't it? He was initially imprisoned in Spain, but he was later transferred to a UK jail without the knowledge of Avril's family. Mother Barbara discovered the transfer only through a friend in March 2019. This is him now. This is the recent TikTok video of him. It's what he looks like now. So make sure you get a good look at him. I want people to know what he looks like. Now, of course, now he might have shaved his beard off or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, that's what he looks like now. And he is walking around the UK free as a bird. So that compounded the suffering of Avril's family that had already endured the violent loss of a daughter and a sister. Despite strenuous objections from Avril's relatives, Daulby was briefly released in October 2020. He was returned to prison less than 2 months later after breaching his licence conditions. Subsequent attempts to secure his release were rejected, but provided the family with only temporary relief from the prospect they had long dreaded. Then in 2022, they suffered another painful shock. They unexpectedly discovered footage showing Daulby joking and performing for other inmates inside an unidentified UK prison. The video showed him holding a mug of tea, wearing grey tracksuit bottoms pulled up to his knees. Sporting an unkempt beard, he appeared to mimic Arabic speech and pretend to fire an imaginary gun. Oh, he's a lovely guy, isn't he? He's just, oh my God. So he's 20 years later and he's still a twonk. The footage contained the first publicly seen images of Daulby since he had been photographed being taken to court almost 15 years earlier. And for Avril's grieving relatives, seeing him clowning around in prison just added further distress to an ordeal that had already lasted more than a decade. So he's going to rebuild his life. Avril couldn't, of course. Avril's life was taken from her. Now I've got the actual video. I'm going to show you the TikTok video of him larking around in prison, shooting an imaginary gun. Let's just make sure I've got it sharing. So memorize this face, because if you're around that area, you could bump into this guy. You could end up going for a coffee with him, or your sister might, or your mum might, or it's important that his face is recognized, I think. Let's see if this video will play. Seems like he was having a great time, to be honest. Let's see, why is it not playing? Oh, there. Oh, hilarious. Hilarious. Now, it looks to me there, do you think he's converted to become a Muslim? Because he's got one of those beards. I don't find it very funny, do you? Now, a bit, to me, to be honest, it sounded like he was speaking Spanish. I might just look at that one more time, actually. I thought he was speaking Spanish there, but not Arabic, but don't know. Anyway, looked like he was having a great time, that's for sure. He's having good fun in prison, isn't he? Come on, where is it gone? Where's it gone? Yeah. Just a short video, but yeah. The thing is, the victims' families always get to suffer more, don't they? The actual perpetrators, they get looked after. He's been. Sounds like he's saying Despacito, Despacito, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he's saying, but anyway, it doesn't matter really. But so I just wanted to let you know about this. I think it's terrible that this man has been released. Like you say, Lily, what a twonk. He is a twonk. Sadly, Avril, when she was young, wasn't she? She was probably 19 when she met him. And maybe he was entertaining, The thing is, when you're young, you get taken in, don't you, by twonks, sadly. So it seems like Avril was taken in by him. Went out with him for a year, realised what he was really like, and tried to finish with him, which she should have had every right to do if she wanted to. But he, Twonky, he couldn't accept that. It's like, how dare you finish with me? You know, you've got no right to finish our relationship. And he would not leave her alone. He stalked her, he phoned her, and somehow, don't know how he got her into his apartment that day, but he did. The thing is, you can never underestimate the sneakiness of stalkers. You know, maybe he got her in there saying he had something that she'd left behind, or I just don't know how he got her into the apartment, but very sadly he did get her into the apartment. And he then tortured her and stabbed her over 50 times, and including slitting her throat. And he's now out walking around Guildford. Or anyway, could be anywhere, can't be in Spain. Or, well, say he's been banned from coming back to Spain. That doesn't mean say, you know, will that work? I mean, you could. All we know now is this man is walking around free somewhere. He's not in prison anymore. And what reason do we have to believe that he's any different from when he was, how he was when he was 20? He's never expressed remorse. Tried to clean up after the crime. Tried to stuff poor Avril in a suitcase. He then ended up putting her under the sofa and letting her mum find her. He tried to clean up. And then when he finally confessed that it was him who'd done it, he said he thought she was an intruder. Do you know, sometimes I wonder if what they should do with like murder cases is they can't, they should never let anyone out until they have actually said what happened. A believable story, of course. I don't know. I mean, I know you can't rely on what they say is true, but he deliberately killed her. He killed her because she didn't want him anymore. That's why he killed her. And he should have been forced to admit that before he was ever released. I mean, personally, I would never have released him. To me, life, it should be life. Shouldn't even be 30 years. You take a life, especially in those circumstances, so callously. There's absolutely no extenuating circumstances, are there? It's not that they had a fight or it was self-defense, or I don't know. They just know the only motive for this crime is because she didn't want him anymore and he couldn't accept it. So definitely that should mean life, in my opinion. So just to finish, I just want to send out my love to Avril's family. I cannot even imagine how they must be feeling, first of all, to lose your daughter in this horrible way. And then, you get a bit of cold comfort when he's put into prison. It must feel quite good, at least knowing that there's some justice. And now he's walking around free as a bird. I can't imagine how that must feel for them. How must that make you feel? Just awful. So anyway, so I just wanted to remember Avril as well. This is a Spanish crime, not that far away from where I am based. Just like the John George crime, murder. There's been quite a few murders in the Oruwela Costa. And then, of course, Michael Malley. He was shot to death in the Oruwela Costa. Dan McMeekin, connected to the John George case, he was stabbed in the neck and left for dead in the Oruwela Costa, all around this area. And there's many more that I haven't even covered yet. I keep thinking I'm going to cover them. Maybe I should do more videos about these crimes that happen so close by to where I am. Yeah. Thing is, murder can happen anywhere, of course, but there does seem to be, because although it's, it's quite a big place now compared to where it was, because there was nothing there, it's still not like Manchester, or London. It's not a big city, but there does seem to be a disproportionate amount of crime there, and maybe I'd like to look into that. Probably will look into that at some point. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for caring about Avril. As I say, our thoughts go out to her family. This must be very difficult for them. And as far as the twonk is concerned, I just hope he gets his karma. He's had a limited amount of justice, I suppose, visited on him. He's spent quite a while in prison, but not long enough. We'll see what happens. What will he get up to while he's out? Is he even safe to be released? I would say that women are not safe as long as this man is free. Women are not safe because he might be all fine and dandy in the beginning, but what about if he gets into a relationship and then that woman wants to finish with him as well? Are we really supposed to believe that he's changed? I doubt it very much. I think he'll be a person, probably couldn't take rejection then. He probably won't be able to take it now. Anyway, I'll see you really soon in the next video. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, etc. And until I see you again, as always, may your God go with you. Thank you.